Welcome to IJN 200. This is the introduction to everything past the 8th mode. We've spent a lot of time on the 8th mode, and I'm going to go into some of the nuts and bolts of that here. What you see on your screen right now is a tuning setup. This is Logic Pro 10, and I use this program specifically for this ability set. If you go into, this is upper left-hand corner, Logic Pro, File, Project Settings, Tuning.
You're not screening, sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah, thank you for that. I will do that in this program. Sorry, I'm getting used to this OBS thing, which is cool. So in Logic slash File Project Settings Tuning, you get to this module, this window here. And as you can see, there's a fair amount of numbers in here. And the first thing is that I have changed my tuning up here, 68.5 cents sharp up. And what that does is that gets me such that my hands are playing in what looks kind of like a C-ish key, so that my fundamental, which is 136.1 hertz, is at C, and that makes it really easy for me to talk about this and to communicate with people. In the theory, conversions from what I call nearest neighbor are easier to work with. And the real reason I did this was to be able to work with some jazz players that I really want to work with on these projects. I want to be able to give them a lead sheet that says, just play C7 with your hands as if you always would, like we always have since we were kids. And what's going to come out is a pure 7 chord. And when I give that person whatever a G minor chord on their chart, what's going to come out is a just, or in this case a pure intonation harmonic series 6, 8, 10 chord, which would, no, it's not, it's going to give you a, help me out here Chris, 12, 14, 16 chord would be the equivalent of a G minor chord, and in this ensemble that would be like a minor 5 chord, and that's really helpful for being able to cross paths with traditionally trained or jazz trained musicians, and that's why I've done this, and it also unlocks the ability to just have an instrument that I can play the eighth mode of the eighth mode of the harmonic series. So below here, this just changes your fundamental, and it just basically all you need to know about this is that changing this up 68.5 cents makes this C right here into a 136.1, which is the key, the fundamental that we're working with for this entire project. The rest of these numbers are modifying the rest of the 12 keys on the keyboard. And in order, I'll do the our focus has been the 8th mode, and we're going to step out of that today, but the focus is the 8th mode. This is the root. The 8 is also the 1, the 2, the 4, the 8, the 16, all the powers of 2, 136.1. This here is 9/8, the ninth note in the harmonic series. This is 10. This is 11. This is 12. This is 13. This is also 13. I'll explain that in a second. This is 14. This is 15. And this is back to 0. And I did it that way because these are the notes that are closest in equal tempered to the notes that we are actually playing. So it sounds like this: 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And there are a couple of notes left over. You have two notes up here, the A and the A flat, and then you have 3 extra notes down here that you can put places. And so these are from the 5th octave. This is the 17/16, so you get a passing tone there from the 5th octave. This is the 19, so you get a passing tone there. And then this is the 21, so you get a passing tone there. And that will allow us to, with this keyboard, with the limitations of this 12-note keyboard, will allow us to get up well into the 5th octave. So we can do the 9th mode, because the 9th mode would include this note here, the 17. And the 11th mode would include this note, the 13, and the 12th mode. Is that right? And the 12th note will include this. I think I might have gotten those wrong. The 9th mode will include this note. The 10th mode will include this note. And the 11th mode will include this note. So we won't actually be able to get to the 12th mode. We'll be short 1 key if we are restricted by this 12-note keyboard. by that time, I'm sure that we will no longer be restricted by a 12-tone keyboard. I put these two the same because for years I had a mistake in my math that I thought that this A was the closest neighbor, and it's not. As you can see, it's 59 cents, which is more than a quarter step. And so the nearest neighbor is actually this A flat. So I did a huge amount of music where this A was my 13, and it didn't affect anybody orally or negatively other than it was a clerical error. And in this case, having them both be that is much simpler, and it's also much easier to write music in jazz with this natural 6A, because you're just writing a lot less flat fives and diminished and accidentals. So I found it useful to have these both be the 13, and I don't see any real reason to have the 25 or the 27 up there yet. And I may change that back at some point, but that's why that's there. For the purposes of this project, one can effectively ignore that. Okay, so that's kind of the run through of the basic theory. If you want to know more about what we're actually talking about, harmonic series, go back one or two videos, and I encourage people, just remember we are in cyberspace and we can do all this stuff 10,000 times, and to get really good at this stuff, it does take 10,000 reps of some of this stuff. So, so spending a lot of time on the 101, the 102, and the 103 makes a lot of sense. That doesn't mean you can't do this, but to continue that and to continue developing that. And, those are still works in progress as far as the compositions are concerned, as well as, our development as a community to engage with this material. We are going to step past that, but first we'll do a little bit in this just to kind of explore this form that I'm creating. The idea, one of the big concepts behind this choir is that we are going to make compositions that are also exercises, so that people can be like dancing in a DJ environment to beautiful music, but also they practicing the skill of embodying pure harmony, just intonation or pure intonation or harmonic series. Whatever words you want to use for that. And so this is kind of the bare bones beginning of that idea, and I'm intentionally making it very formulaic, and I also intentionally want to put a bunch of crowdsourced material in it. But my intention right now is to have all of the movements of this kind of grand composition, which is really an ecstatic dance piece, have this kind of very similar intro and A section, if you will. And it's just the scale, and then the scale branches out into kind of introduce harmonies using the scale itself. And then it introduces all the natural what we call tertian chords that show up, and then inversions of those tertian chords, and then a very simple back and forth where you can kind of get into this idea. And those of you who have been with this project for a minute are very familiar with this because I've been doing it the whole time. I just haven't put it it hasn't been so canonized as of yet, and as it will be, because we've just been doing it experientially. Basically, we've been going through the exercises that I made for myself over the past many years to engage with this material, and we just used them as they came out. And I knew that there was this kind of cohesive theme that would kind of tie it all together. I call it now the grand composition. I'm looking for a better title, but this idea of an ecstatic dance piece that kind of also doubles as a teaching module for this material. So this would be the eighth mode, and would in some versions might be where you start, might be where you finish, might be where you come to in the middle. It doesn't really matter, but it's one of the probably the grand movements of this piece, and it starts, as they all will, with just kind of engaging with the scale. So those who are engaging with this for the first time, this is the eighth mode, or the fourth octave of the harmonic series. The harmonics are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then back down. And we'll only do these ones one or two times because most of the people who are looking at this right now have done this a whole bunch, but I'm doing this now for the illustration of where we're actually going. So here we go with the eighth mode scale, nice and slow. I want to emphasize breathing and body awareness, move. You don't have to be married to sitting in front of your computer right now. You can be on your back in Shavasana, you can be stretching, you can be twirling, and I encourage those things. Please use this as a true embodiment, yoga, if you will, to get in touch with yourself and ourselves. Here we go with eighth mode scale. That's 8, 9, 10. Start that again because the these my drones are a little bit louder than is appropriate for what we're doing here, so I'm going to take those. With all these exercises, I've left a drone in the bottom, and that's very helpful for just for understanding the mode, really. Okay, here we go. Eighth mode. Gentlemen will probably start down here. Ladies probably start up here. Sing whatever part you want, whatever octave you want at all times with this project. Here we go. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Okay. So again, well, just encourage people, breathe, be present, and also make use of the exercises. There are tons of exercises on that are a little bit more fun to sing to than that exact one. This is mainly for illustration. Okay, so the branching section, the idea is all of these modes, we will introduce the scale just once and as subtly as possible. It may be way in the background, and then we will introduce harmony based on the scale, so that a person or a learner kind of has the yeah, you don't have to whisper. Thank you. All of it?
Just the background part, so because it's hard.
Like the Latin?
The scale. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the feedback. Always appreciate the feedback. Okay, so then a learner, a person who's engaging with this or who wanted to just relax into it, could literally sing the exact same thing here. So you'll see on my screen here, this is just the scale, and if you I guess I can give you a little bit better view of that. Also, those of you who are engaging heavily with this project, learning logic or getting some basic skills in logic is super helpful. I mean, this program is so powerful. So this is the scale using these, using this this piano map that I showed you at the beginning with this tuning setup here on the right. So this is just the scale. Come back. This is just the scale, and then if you look at this one, it's exactly the same thing, but the listener is invited to instead of going up the scale, you come down the scale at some point. So for example, you might go 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, and we could even add an 8 here. And the idea being that the basses, when we wanted to learn, as learners, we wanted to get into the harmonies, we could easily get there. And I know this is all repeat for a lot of you, but I want to just make allowances for people who are just kind of engaging with this for the first time with this exact video. And so what I've been having people do is I'll have the basses go 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, and so on and so forth, and they get into this, and then I have the the tenors go 8, 9, 10, 11, 10, 11, 10, 11, 10, and then we can get into the harmonies that way. And then I'll have the altos go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, and so on and so forth. And so in a very subtle way, we introduce, here's how you can find your way into the harmonies of the eighth mode. So I'm going to invite people to sing any part you want. If you're new, just singing the scale straight up and then singing the scale straight down. You can see the scale here as well. If you've been here for a while and you're a bass, maybe sing the bass part. Or if you've been here long enough that you've been singing the bass part and you're bored of it, you might try a tenor part. Or those of you who are super advanced might try to sing any number of parts, or just any one of these, literally any one of these going. To just experientially find your way into the harmonies. Okay, here we go. Same thing. I'm calling this branching. I'm going to do the tenor part. 10, 11. Now I'm going to go back down to the 10, 11, the 10, 11. Now I'm going to go up to the 12, 12, and so on and so forth. And then we can come from here and do the same exact thing. 16, 15, 14, 15, 14, 13, 14, 15, 16. And so for those of you who have been singing this scale a lot, like, and I know some of you have been doing the reps, that'll be very intuitive to kind of mix and match and find your way through there. And that allows one to kind of explore. So this will be kind of the second piece of this movement in this grand composition, is we'll introduce this kind of gentle use of the scale to find our way into these harmonies. Okay, so this is, again, built on the scale. You can see the scale right here on the bottom. Here's the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 right there. The 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. And then we back to the 8. And then these are the tertian harmonies. If you just go one note, skip one note, skip note one note, skip one note. That's called, in Western theory, we call that tertian harmony, built on thirds, which is a total, for the purposes of this project, is totally antiquated. But it is a valid way to approach it, and it is how I personally approached it, and so that's how I chose to teach it. So the next thing we engage with, and the next thing we will introduce in this grand composition that is also an exercise and a way to learn this material, is these, what I'm calling stacking chords. And so this is the third piece of every movement will be stacking. So we're in stacking now, and we're going to play this. Some of you may want, if you're new, you might want to just sing the scale here, starting on this note, or if your higher voice might be up here. But some of you might want to try doing this exact same thing by starting on this higher scale. And then your part would be a la 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 la, which is a mode of a mode, really. That's a mode of the eighth mode, if you will. That terminology is going to get a little bit confusing once we get into the other modes, and this is something Chris brought up in the past. Anyway, so let's go through this once. Did I hear you try to pipe in there, Chris? Feel free to, if you feel inclined. Maybe I imagine that. Okay, so we're just going to go through this once, and the point here is more illustrative. I don't want to go deep into this like we will into the other modes tonight, but I just want to show people the process so they understand what they're engaging with and what the idea is. And again, at the end of this rehearsal and in future rehearsals, I'm going to begin asking people to collaborate with me. And where do we go from here? Once we've introduced all of the harmonies in the eighth mode, and we have this composition that is in etude, and we've got a couple of nice melodies. How would we best evolve it from there in a way that A is beautiful, B is awesome to dance to, and C is going to evolve us as musicians every time we do it from now until we're finished with it, which might be a long, long time from now. Okay, here we go with the stacking chords. So if here's a, and that's the 8, 9. I'm going to skip up here. 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm in the middle, the second and bottom. 14, 15, 16, 9, 10. So that would be like the tenor part. If we wanted to sing the soprano part, that's the 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 14 and 13. Okay, and so and the way I've imagined this is that these are the parts of the choir. These are SATB. So in the beginning, we're all singing the scale, and then we branch out into our parts here, and then here on the stacking chords. This is the bass part. This is the tenor part. Alto and soprano, and realistically we probably reverse these because the ladies are actually generally speaking up an octave, but the point is that we're kind of introducing a formulaic way to engage with the material while making something beautiful. And again, I know these sounds are all subpar. It's just a basic electric piano. That's what works for me to get this concept across. And ideally all this gets replaced by live instruments, but also we can replace them with with sounds in this huge library of sounds that Logic just gives us. It's one of the reasons we use Logic is because it has a great sound bank. Okay, so the next step in this concept, we take the exact same thing, but everything from here over and up, like this entire triangle right here, if you can, I guess I can't do that here, can I? Everything from here down to here and over to here, we just put it on the bottom to make it a giant rectangle. Exact same notes except for all the ones above the middle, above this line of C3. Everything above that is put below, and what you wind up with is the exact same thing harmonically. And you can even see that's where I copy pasted it before, which is really handy actually. I love that. It's the exact same thing with good voice leading, and voice leading in classical theory and in all theory really is when your four voices are not going crazy far everywhere. So your soprano now just has a very simple part that goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it's fairly easy to sing and sounds kind of natural. And so the bass part now is and then we could even end it here on the C if we wanted to, depends on what we want to do, and then the tenor and then the alto and the soprano. And so you've got the same exact thing with different voice leading. And so instead of singing the scale, which like the basses last time, we're singing 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now the basses will sing 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, and the tenors or the altos or whoever it is will sing 10, 11, 10, 11, 10, 11, 10, 11, 10, 11, 10, 11. The altos will sing 12, 13, 12, 13, and the sopranos will sing 14, 15, and so on and so forth. So I will sing, let's just do, I'm going to sing what we're calling, for the purpose of this, we're calling this the alto part. I'm going to sing the alto part here, and if you've been here a while, just choose one, and if you haven't, just, you can, the easiest is just the 8, 9. 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, and back and forth. And I'll go up to here. I'll sing the 15, the 12, 13. Here we go. 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, 13, 12. Okay, so you get the idea, and I want to stress that this is identical to this. Oh, I just played that. That's hilarious. So it is identical, and we'll do it again just because it's not that identical. These actually, there's a difference. So what I just played is actually the one that was not the one that I had on my screen, but the one above it, the stacking chord. So let's do that one more time just to illustrate it more effectively. They are the same thing harmonically. It's just that all the upper parts have been moved down and an octave, and it's called inversions. All the chord have now been inverted is the terminology for that. Okay, so let's do this one more time. This time I'll sing the bass part for the sake of folks who are brand new, and you can sing sing whatever part you want, any octave you want. So ladies can definitely sing bass. Basses are definitely welcome to sing countertenor, or the soprano parts as a countertenor, whatever you want. Here we go. I'll sing bass up an octave actually. Here we go. 9, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10, and so on and so forth. And what you get there, and I should double back here and say, the concept behind this choir, the chording instrument was always intended to be the voices. It's always intended that the choir be those voices. And I'm kind of waffling on that just because it might take some time to build that level of confidence and that number of people to do this job. But ultimately, we can multi-track, so it probably doesn't matter. But the idea is that the choir would actually sing these parts, and that would be, in most bands, you have a guitar player and a piano player, or any number of rhythm instruments that are kind of holding down the harmonic structure of the thing. What I always imagine here is it's a choir does that job, and it's like an organ, and I love the pun on the word organ there, a human organ, where every person is one of the pipes on the organ, but the pipe of the organ can flex and can change pitch infinitely, and can change vowel shapes, and can talk, and can lyricize, and can make chicken sounds, all kinds of stuff, great stuff. So, but it's an infinitely versatile harmonic instrument, or rhythm instrument as we call it. And so if you look at this just at an overview, you could imagine your part here. Everybody would sing this together, and then the sopranos would sing this top line and this top line up here, whereas the basses would sing the bottom notes, and then would sing this descending scale, and the basses would sing this bottom and that bottom, and so on and so forth. And then where we're going with that is what you discover is as we did that exercise, what we're really doing is just coming back and forth between two chords here. And this becomes readily apparent, becomes very valuable from engaging with this material, is that you're just going back between this 8, 10, 12, 14 chord and this 9, 11, 13, 15 chord over and over again. That's what that actually all boils down to, and it's just singing the scale brought us to that experientially. So the next movement in this piece is what I've been calling, originally we were calling this consistent redundant, which is a name I never liked, and then it became meandering nature scale. And its new working title is actually terpsichore, which is there's a statue over here of the muse of dance, and this is all intended to be dance. And I'll tangent a little bit here to say that as a kind of a seeker of knowledge and wisdom, if you will, it sounds cheesy as hell. I found many times in my life that even though I was always looking for depth and for kind of getting to know myself better, it was always when I came back to ecstatic dance or some kind of dance that whatever lessons I was wrestling with crystallized and like actually snapped into place. Happens to me so many times, and I became this huge fan of dance, even though it would only happen, in most of my life, my not for lack of desire, my actual going out to dance quotient, is once a year sometimes, once every 6 months, once every couple of years sometimes. It's that deplorable, to be honest, but I'd like it to be more. And I just want to speak to the fact that all that work really came to a head when I was dancing. And so the idea of this being a concept where we create this perfect container for a dance environment, specifically an ecstatic dance environment, and a shout out to the work of Gabriel Roth, where my partner and I met in this 5 rhythms movement, which back in the day was kind of the only real method that was out there that at least that I knew of in ecstatic dance was this 5 rhythms. And so you'll hear me talk about 5 rhythms within the context of this grand composition because I do want to pay homage to it, as well as had some really valuable points. And so we will some of the movements within this will all of the movements really will reflect her work in the 5 rhythms of Gabriel Roth. This idea of flow, staccato, chaos, lyrical, and stillness will be definitely woven into this. So this is terpsichore. We were going back and forth, and what that became was just this piece, which you just see is literally the exact same thing. And we used it. What I do is I usually encourage people to improvise a huge amount over this material. So we'll do that just a tiny bit for the sake of illustration. This is anything goes, no wrong notes. The idea is just to create melodies and experientially engage with the scale. Here we go. And you get the point. Again, this exercise is published. There's lots of access to that. We got a 1 hour version, 2 hour version. We're going to be put out more and more of the more and more beautiful versions of that. And then, as we have in the last many weeks, we have been engaging with a short exercise where we went through some other basic chords. We were going from this one to this one to this one to this one. Just a basic chord progression, and that will be the next movement, presumably, but open to interpretation. And then a much more complex piece, which goes through 16 changes and really tries to get all those harmonies, called Calliope, which is likely to kind of be more the climax piece. And that's where we've been. That's a little bit. It's almost like we're going to set that aside because we're going to keep on working on that and keep on ingraining those harmonies in. But now it's time to explore the other modes, the other movements, the other parts, because there's so much richness. And this project is really about embodying this richness of what we're of what you can't get to within the 12-tone equal tempered scale. You can't get this, this 11 is almost is a quarter step away from its nearest neighbors. It's basically impossible to play on a piano. It is impossible to play on a piano, and you hear it in blues and other places. But it's but to hear these harmonies is rare and new and beautiful, and it's something that we can do because it basically. I mean, it's not that it hasn't been done. Lots of people have done it, but it hasn't been done a lot, and it hasn't been done in a way that's truly accessible. Another big piece I want to discuss is odd meters. We call polyrhythmic, Zen rhythmic. Zen harmonic is another word for microtonal. Zen rhythmic is another name for polyrhythmic. When I dance, I love going to ecstatic dance, but what I really long for is to be moving in odd meters. And it's, maybe that's a curse of being a musician and being a hardcore drum set player that really wanted to be able to play polyrhythms, but I don't feel like I've gotten the full dance experience unless I've spent and not just a little time. I'm like, oh, thank you for playing one song in an odd meter in the entire 3-hour experience. To really be well served, I need to spend a bunch of time in these odd meters in order to really feel like I've fully evolved. And so when I realized that many years ago that was missing, that was when I got really serious about studying for this day that would one day come when I would actually present, okay, this is the dance experience that I always wanted and I still want and I'm going to really enjoy being a part of, that I also really believe will benefit people and in very, very profound ways. We can create this perfect container when people come in with their own intentions and move their bodies with their own sovereign will, and good things are going to happen. And I'm just really excited about it. Okay, so let's move to 5. This is the 8. Rhythmically it's very comfortable. It's just a double of 4, so it's nothing interesting. But 5 is very rare. Most people can't name more than one tune that's in 5. Most people don't even know what a tune in 5 sounds like. But they're not very many famous songs in 5. The classic ones are Dave Brubeck's Take 5, incredibly sung. Another one is that I've heard. Well, I guess it's because I listen to it all the time. Is Sting did this song. 7 days is all she wrote. Kind of ultimatum note. It's called Shape of No. 7 days. It's called 7 days. It's in 5. I mean, there are other examples, and when we get into the other meters, I'll try and throw out some examples of good tunes in 5. I know Jethro Tull did a bunch of stuff in 5, but all in all, it's fairly rare, and dancing in it is almost done. Is I don't know, very rare to find.
Middle Eastern music has a good deal of it.
What's that?
Middle Eastern dance music has a lot of
Right. So when you get out of this culture, Shannon is just mentioning that Middle Eastern music and a lot of Greek music, a lot of music from the other parts of the world have this. It's really just Western music that's a little bit a lot limited in that way. Anyway, so this will be the fifth movement. Let's see. Let's not. And so I wanted to illustrate here that we're doing kind of the same exact thing, and on purpose I'm doing the same exact thing. You can see up here we've got the scale. Fifth mode is only 5 notes. Then you've got this branching thing where it kind of branches out and introduces it. Then you've got this stacking thing, which is just all the tertial harmonies. Then I've taken them and flopped them over so that they are voice led. And then here they are in just a back and forth to get comfortable. So this becomes the intro.
Tyler, you went mono for some reason.
Thank you. Why would that be? I see it on my screen. I see that I'm mono right here, but I don't know why. Anyway, I don't think that'll hurt anything, so I'm just gonna let that be so that we can keep on pushing. I do appreciate you telling me that because I'm sure that will matter at some point. But right now I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter. +4, aux4, check. Yeah, I don't have an explanation for that. So we're in 5, same exact theory, and the idea here is that we would introduce the exact same material but in a different mode with the same idea, such that a person who is learning this and engaging with it could be engaging with this while listening to something beautiful, or while on the dance floor with the DJ, and or just by listening to it, could be engaging with, hey, what does it mean to sing in the harmonic series? What is the 5th mode? And the idea being to have it be very much dual purpose, in aesthetically beautiful, able to dance to, and multi-purpose, and a learning tool. So let's go through this one. We'll do more than a couple of times, just because we really want to. We haven't sung this one so much, so we'll spend a little bit more time on this. 7:40. Yeah, I can't spend a ton of time on all of my. We're not going to spend a ton of time on any of them because I want to spend some time co-composing. I want to go through all of them at least once so that people have an understanding of the big picture of what I'm going for here. That way I can, what I'm asking for is people to collaborate with me on creating this, because I want it to be, I don't want this to be, composed by Tyler Vega. That's not the point here. The point is to have it be very inclusive, and, I mean, almost like an anarchistic consensus circle. It happens that I'm, spearheading this, but the more of that collaboration, the more magic we will find here. Okay, so scale only. This is the 5th mode. This is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's the 5th mode. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay. Here we go. And this, again, if you can imagine the intro being, the intro would just be something like this. And then we would come in and we would introduce the scale as a melody. Here we go. First note is 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7. Why do I have all this stuff on my screen? What is all this stuff? I'll do this one more time. I'm not actually sure. Chris, if you know why I have multiple MIDI... Why do I have multiple MIDI regions in my MIDI editor here? Is it because these are highlighted or something? Yeah, it must be.
I think you're just in a different view.
Yeah, I think I had them all highlighted is what happened. I just want to test that because I've never seen that before. Oh yeah, okay. So when you grab them all, it shows them on top of each other. That's really a cool thing. I'm going to use that in the future. Especially for multi-part writing, which actually is something I've been struggling with, the amount of extra work I have to do on that. Okay, let's do this mode 5 a couple times. Here's your 5 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 5. One more time so I get it right. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. A rest. 2, 3, 4, 5. 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops, I didn't mean to stop that, but there, that's it. That's a good spot anyway. Also didn't mean to change that. And so we are in 5. That's important. And also, quickly just draw people's attention to the fact that we are also swinging in 5. You can swing in 5. Most swing is a triplet pattern with the middle one missing. Dot 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 becomes dot 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 dot. Search that if you want the deep dive on that, but it's a triplet figure. You can also swing in 5, which would be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. And so if you set your swing at 60% or 80% or 40% or 20% in theory, you are then swinging in 5, and it has a very unique feel to it, and it's for me, I describe it as a laid back swing. We used, back when I used to play a lot of jazz, we would lay back our swing, and you'll hear bands out there that are laying back their swing, and I swear some of them are swinging in 5, but nobody ever calls it that because our brains don't move that fast. We don't. I mean, apparently back in the day when you did enough drugs, you slowed down time when you did enough heroin, and so people were doing stuff like that. But I think for all practical purposes, it's just a swing that has a different feel to it, and it for me it's very, very fun to dance to, and this these beats are evolving, but this kind of driving 5 beat, and this from the Gabriel Roth perspective, this would be the staccato section, the section where you're you're really going for kind of sharp angular movements and big and powerful, but also controlled. And I'm hesitant to go too much into chakra theory. We have this big conversation about the relationship between the harmonic series and the rainbow and the chakra system, and a whole bunch of new to me data about how that all evolved in our world, particularly in the West, is really makes it really complex. But suffice to say that this movement, at least for the purposes of how I'm approaching it, is all about intention. And so the lyrics and maybe even a narrator while we're in this driving 5 and we're kind of in this very staccato, articulate movement will be about set your intentions. What are you here to do? What do you want to do with this moment? What do you want to do with the rest of your moments? What are you bringing to the table? All that stuff. And the idea is to even go so far as to maybe say these things out loud while you're on the dance floor. And as we're composing, we should be putting our intentions into this music. And so this 5th movement for that is very much about that. It's about intention. It's about willpower. Empowered willpower. This empowered, optimized way of really going for stuff. So I want people to be mindful of that as we engage with this material. Okay, so moving on. One time at most through that scale to introduce it. Hey, here's the scale. Here's the 5th mode. If you're interested in singing the harmonic series, you could do it. This is all happening in my mind as we're just playing a beautiful song for the people. And then we do the same exact thing we did in 8th mode, which is to sing the scale but add these, but people will branch off. So this is the branching section. If you're new, you might want to just sing the scale. If you've been here a while, you might want to sing a part. The bass part would, for example, would be a 5 6 5 6 5 6, and then, for example, the tenor part might be 5 6 7 8 7 8, and the soprano part might be 5 6 7 8 9 10. And for the sake of illustration, I will sing what we are calling the tenor part. I guess there aren't enough parts to call 4 of them, but we'll call this when in doubt, maybe both female voices will go to the very top. So I'm going to sing the tenor part. I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8. Everybody else do whatever you want within there. Here we go. The branching of mode 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 10, 9, 8, 7, 8, 7. And in this way, we have experientially introduced harmony. Here's the scale. Here's how you can use the scale to introduce harmony. Okay, so then we move on to this idea of stacking. So this is the exact same thing, but we're using tertian harmony here. Skip one, and what chords do you get? And then we're going to go up the scale and down the scale. So here we go with this stacking. If you're new, you might start here, and if you've been doing this a while, you might start here. New people probably want to start on the 5. Chris, you'd probably want to start up here on the 7. Some of the others might want to start up here on the 9. And here we go. We'll just do this a couple of times. I'll sing the 5. I'll start on the 5 and sing the regular scale. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10. 5. Okay. And again, all these exercises are out there. I'm going through them fast now because I want to get to the part where we start talking about. I'd like to actually open the floor and get some feedback about this stuff. All these exercises are published. They're all. I'll make them more and more available. They're on the website intojustnation.com. I'll put links to every exercise we go over, or some version of it will be provided in the comments of this, presumably posted on YouTube and so on and so forth. But I do want to, I want to speed this up a fair amount so that we get to a little bit of actual collaborative time. So this is the exact same thing. All that has happened here, these are harmonically identical. All that has happened is I had moved the top, everything above the mode from above this 10 here has been moved down, and so this is the exact same material with inversions and good voice leading. Inversions and voice leading. So let's go through this one, same exact thing. You can sing through the scale through it, or you can sing a part through it. So the basses might sing 5, 6, 6, 7, 6, 7, might be that part. The top parts, or the female voices, or whoever wants to sing up there might sing this 9, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10, and so on and so forth. I'll sing the scale through this to illustrate the point. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10. 7, 6, 5, and so on and so forth. Again, these exercises are posted. I encourage people to spend a lot of time with that. You want to really get into that. And then the next thing we would do is kind of go into this back and forth thing. You can see, it's harder to see here, but harmonically speaking, there's not a lot more going on in these exercises than what you see right here, which is just going back and forth between these two chords. This is the 5, 7, 9 chord and the 6, 8, 10 chord. And this is just, we've seen this a lot. This is what the major chord is a is 13 cents out of tune of this. This is just a major triad, but in tune, an in tune major triad, a pure major triad, if you will, a pure triad, root 3/5, but make the third in tune instead of major. It's pure or perfect or just. Okay, so we're going to go just back and forth between these two for a while now. I'll spend a little bit more time here because this is pretty relevant to where we are. In our actual work is, we really do want to engage with this part. I think the last one actually really is too, so we might go back there for just a second. But I'm illustrating the point. We would find our way, we would introduce this material using those previous exercises, and then we would find our way here probably for a fair amount of improvisation. And this is the part where we really want to encourage people to use their voices to engage with their own intentions. Setting your intentions here on the floor with we, bringing our minds into a sphere. Let us be and breathe in your own intentions. Again, I want to point out that you can just sing the scale here. Watch this. Here's the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And the choir might be in the background singing our choir parts. The basses might be going, while the tenors are going, the ladies are going, and those are chords in the background. Or it might go la da doo da 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 da. My rhythm is terrible there, but you get the point. We can do all kinds of stuff behind that. So we have a basic structure, and it's a logical way to present this material, and it's going to be fun and interesting and really awesome to dance to. I want to go back a little bit because we didn't really spend that much time up in this stuff, and I do want to spend this. This is harmonically a little bit more complex than what we just did, and therefore it's a little bit more interesting. So I just want to give people a little bit of time, especially people like Chris, who has a ton of experience and huge chops to improvise over this course. This is the stacking inversions, the bit we've been going over every mood. I just want to go through this 2 or 3 times here, and I will mute myself so that I can cut loose and not be distracting other people from their own improvisation. Here we go, the stacking inversions. That's hilarious. So that was not the stacking chords. That was the meandering. I had this little loop right here set up. So we were just going to do between the first two, which that's fine though. Exactly what I needed. I don't know about y'all. Okay, so let's move on. You get the point. And what I'm asking for here is this video is really intended to show you my process of how I approached this stuff in as concise a way as possible. And I know it's taken an hour to get through it, but from this point, we have this kind of intro that was very formulaic and very thought out and with a lot of trial and error and experiential, and we're going to engage with this a lot. Now the question is, where do we go? What is the in the eighth mode? I presented a 4-chord series next in the movement because it was simple and it's because what made sense to my mind. What would we as a community now? Where would be the next place we would go? We've just done all this material, and we're and we're engaging with this improvisation and these lyrics. What melody might lead us toward the chord progression that would flesh this out and give this a B section and a C section, would give it more of a song-like feel and somewhere to go to explore the fifth mode? What melody guides the next step in our exploration of the fifth mode? What chord progression will guide our next step in the exploration of the fifth mode? That's my question for you as my community, as the circle that we sit in. And I know I'm doing all the talking right now, but that's got to come to an end. And I need you guys to step up and help me find these melodies, because the melodies, they're all about us. They're all about circles. They're all about what are we going to do? How are we going to grow into ourselves? Okay. I want to do a little bit more of that because we didn't actually do. I want to do a little bit of time on sinking into this with the stacking progression inversions. So this again is where we were. I don't need to say it again, but the scale becomes this branching, the branching becomes this stacking, and the stacking gets inverted to this thing here, and that's where we are. Okay, we'll do this a couple of times. I'll mute myself so that you guys can find your own melodies. I do recommend having a pen and paper around for this stuff. I keep on finding great lyrics and great melodies every time we do this. Here we go. All right. I think I got a working title for that one too. All right, so let's go on. fifth mode, that's the idea. Where are we going from here? Please look in the comments for links to those exercises. I think I have pre-recorded. I've already done all this stuff and have released some version of every one of these, and I'll try and I'll take in the next couple of days. I'll make a couple of more versions just to make sure that it's all clearly represented. I think the first one I put out went back and forth between these two, and then I put out one of this one, but it all came in a weird order because it wasn't. I hadn't fleshed it all out yet. I'm trying to present it in a very logical order now, and I'll put it all in numerical order such that it's very easy to see and look at and think about. So then, from the fifth mode, you can go in this evolved dance concept. We can go from any movement to any movement. We have a live DJ on for a reason, so we can change tempo forward and back. We can change dynamics up and down. We can go, if we're feeling going to the 5, we're going to the 5. If we're feeling going to the 6, we can go to the 6. But for the purposes of teaching the material, we're kind of just I'm going to present it as we're going to start in 8 because it's likely to be what's comfortable, and then we're going to go to 5, 6, 7, 8, just as kind of a way to do it, a default way to do it, if you will. Even though in a fully dynamic setting we won't be stuck with that, that is how we're going to do it. So imagine us we start in the 8 and introduce this material and get comfortable, or maybe we start in this kind of etherical one, doesn't matter, to the 5, and then we go to the 6 from the 5. So for the purposes of the simple version of this, we are going from the 5 to the 6. Here's the 6. Okay, same idea. If you look on your screen, you can see that here, I guess I'll just start by turning these guys down a little bit. Oops. Same idea. At the top, there's the 8th or the 6th mode scale. The 6th mode is a much more intuitive scale. It's kind of it has a Dorian sound to it. I call it the true Dorian. I didn't want to put those down, did I? So let's go real quick through just the modes: 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and back down. Here's the 6. Why don't I have any sound? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Here we go, just the scale one time through. And if you're new, I encourage you to find the exercises and do this scale a lot. Here we go. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 11, 10. Okay, I had something unmuted and that took me way too long to figure that out. Let's do this again with just the scale. Here we go. 6 starts on the 6. 6. Basses probably want to start way down there. I'll start up here. Probably not up there. Here's the 6, mode 6 scale. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Rest. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay, that's mode 6. If you're new, please go find that exercise and sing that scale a whole bunch. But that said, we are going to sing the whole scale a whole bunch. You can just sing the scale right here as the piece is designed. So maybe that is bad advice. Maybe the best thing to do is just sing the scale over the stuff that we're doing right here, like we will in the actual dance piece. Here we go. Same thing. You can sing the scale over this. You can see the scale in there. And you can see the branching where we introduce the harmony by simply singing the scale but not going all the way up. I'm going to sing the scale all the way up, and then I'm going to sing one of the middle parts. I'm going to go 12, 11, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10 is this part I'm going to sing. But I encourage you guys to sing whatever part you want. Here we go. This is the branching of the 6. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going alto. 12, 11, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10. Okay. And I definitely did publish that one. Let's go straight to stacking. So same idea here. You have the scale along the bottom, the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You have the tertian harmony going up above, creating stacking chords. New people probably want to sing just the scale again. Some people may want to sing one of the modes of the mode, starting this C is here, or this 10 or this 8. Okay, I'm gonna do just the scale 8. What is it? 6. 6. Here we go. This is the stacking. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12. 7, 6. Okay, same idea. Now we're in this one, which is exactly the same thing. All we've done is we've inverted the chords such that everything above is copied down. So this and this are the same exact thing with all these notes taken down an octave. So harmonically, they are identical. Here we go. This is called stacking inversions. Same exact thing. I'm going to sing the scale again, and I'll point to the notes of the scale on screen. Here we go. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay. So let's spend some time in there. We're going to go to this meandering. Where we're going is here, just to this back and forth. And I've changed the meandering a little bit because the 6th mode, each mode has a different number of notes in it. So the way the actual meandering functions is going to be slightly different. But I want to go through, we could just do the meandering right here. And in fact, we will do that. First, I want to go through this a couple of times, and I'm gonna just allow for some exploration here, because this is where I'm at. This is where we are at. People are at all levels in this. I keep on worrying about leaving people in the dust here. Please don't worry about that. There's no late. There's no need to have homework done. There's none of that stuff. There's only how much do you want to engage. And so this is where I'm at. This is where Chris is at. And the people who have really been doing every exercise a lot of times. But that doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean you can't just participate from right where you're at. The whole thing is designed. Literally, we've got the scale built in right here. you can participate just by singing this scale right here. And that's the whole point, is to keep it 100% accessible all the time to all people and to all levels of involvement, abilities and confidence levels. And, some people are going to want to be wallflowers or lurkers forever on this thing. And that's totally cool. I want that. I know I got a bunch of people watching my YouTube videos, and I don't know who they are, and that's not important to me. But it's really fulfilling to know that people are watching them. That this material is interesting to people to me is like a dream come true, because I didn't have anybody to talk to about this stuff for years, and finally met Shannon, and that started to change. And now I've got Chris in my life and a whole group of people who are interested in this stuff, and I do believe we're on the cutting edge of a wave here, because these are pure harmonies, pure consonances that are very complex, that basically haven't been used and touched on. So it's exciting, I keep on coming back to this quote from 21 Pilots. I wish I could find some chords in an order that is new. Well, here they are. They're old as time itself, but they're new because we haven't heard them before. We haven't heard them before. We haven't engaged with them. So thank you for coming on the journey. Let's spend some time in this, and this is just time to improvise. You can sing the scale through it. You can sing you could sing the bass part through this. You could sing this. We could call this the tenor part or the alto part. We could call this the soprano part or the alto part, or both. Or you can just explore through here, or you can just go off and improvise, or I don't know. Some days I wish we were using Jamulus so I could listen back and listen to what Chris is shredding behind the scenes on this stuff while we're doing this, because I used to get to do that, and we need to get back to that, Chris. I want to get back to the part where I get to hear what you're doing over this stuff. It's been weeks. Okay, here we go. Let's just improvising. We are in the stacking inversion section of the 6th mode. Here we go. And there you have some mode 6. And then this part this is unintroduced material. This is just this idea of a meandering, the kind of two most basic chords that I could think of. In this case, we kept the root the same. So this is the 6, 7, 9, 11 chord and the 6, 8, 10, 12 chord. And so this is really just moving back and forth between the root of the 6 and the root of the 8, the root of the whole thing. Very distinctive sound. I actually have a couple of songs written that could just be put right over this. So this is the meandering of the 6. Let's just spend some time here. For the sake of illustration, we'll put that like that. Here we go. This one you can't. This is the difference is that this one you can't just sing the scale over. So I kind of like the idea of always just being able to sing the scale over the whole thing. But that I think that we would have to cheat a little bit with the method to make that work here. And I'm open to suggestions on that. Here we go. Meandering the 6. All right, there you have it, meandering the 6. Yeah, it's 8:30 already. I guess we started a touch late. We're gonna go to the 7. Yeah, that's the 6. Here comes the 7. Just remind folks that the idea there is, what comes next? I've got a bunch of melodies coming through and a bunch of lyrics coming through, but what's the melody that will lead us to the next? What is cool in the 6? What is interesting? What will help us as people and a species, and what will help us evolve? What will bring us to the truth, to our closest truth of the now? 7 is I keep on saying it's not intuitive. It's very, very intuitive. It's beautiful. I'll just say that I call this the mystic scale, and I think that name is gonna stick. The mystic mode, the 7th mode of the harmonic series is the mystic mode. Fight me, I'll die on this hill. Okay, here's the scale. Let's go straight to the scale. This is the 7 7 7 7. Just gonna put this up there so people can see it. So the 7 is this one up here. We're 31, almost 31 cents away from its nearest neighbor, which would have been the dominant 7. Pure 7 is what we call this, or pure 14, more pure 7 and a pure 14. 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Get a very distinct character to it. Nothing like anything you've heard in equal tempered. It's just not there. The scale is not there. It's so not there. This is what really drives me about this stuff, is we can do these, play chords and scales and melodies that haven't really been heard. I mean, come on, who gets to do that? Like, here we go. The scale, just mode 7. 7, 8, 9. Got to do some volume adjustments here. Okay, our first note is, ladies will probably be up here, ladies and tenors. Bass is probably way down here. Probably not, wait. And it's in 7. 7, 8, 9, 10. 12, 13, 14, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. 7. Sorry, that was super sloppy. Just one time without the distractions. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. What I really need to do is turn a count in on. I think I know where that is. That is in here somewhere. Okay, I'm not going to go look for that right now. Okay, in the 7, we're going to switch from the scale. I feel like we should do that again. Clean. Keep it clean. Need to go through it once clean. Okay, here's just the scale. 7, 8, 6, 7, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Call it perfectly clean, but good enough. Okay, so then we're going to do the same exact thing. And again, I guess this exemplifies the point. I mean, this stuff is hard. I've been doing this for a long time now. And, mode 7 is not new to me, but it's newer than other things. And it's still a struggle for me to hit those notes on the way down because my mind was so programmed by equal tempered, by learning, whatever, a dozen instruments in equal tempered. And just listening to music all our lives, we had that skill so ingrained that it can be very difficult to unlearn it. And so take the time with that and remember to consciously disengage and consciously allow yourself to fall into that. I think let's just keep on going. Again, because these are designed that you can sing the scale through literally every single one of these exercises, I think it allows a little bit of freedom with that particular concept. Okay, here we go. Same thing. We're now in what we're calling the branching, and you can sing the scale over this if you like, or you can sing something entirely different if you like. I'm going to sing the scale up, and then I'm going to sing the top part, the soprano part, and I'll just stay up here and do these two back and forth. Okay, here we go. On the branching of the 7. Here's a 7. Here's a 7. Oh, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, rest 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 13, 14, 13, 14, 13, 14, 13. Okay, and so using this scale, we have introduced harmony via the branching. Now we're going to move on like we did in all the other movements, and we're going to introduce this idea of stacking, which is all the tertian harmonies within the 7th mode. Some of us may want to sing this scale straight up and down. Some of us might want to be singing this, one of the modes of the mode, if you will, up here. I'm going to sing the straight scale. Maybe I'll get it right this time. 7, 7, here we go. 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so then we've introduced all of the tertian harmonies available in the 7th mode, and then we move on to this, which is the same thing but with good voice leading, or inversions as we call them. And we see now that we have the option of singing parts not in a scalar fashion, even though we still can here. You can see the scale: 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, and so forth. And then some of us might sing this bass part. 7, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, or we could come back down to the 7 there. Oop, don't do that. And so on and so forth. And I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but I found that that's what it takes to not that what it takes. It's a good thing. It's just what people appreciate is a lot of repetition. Mastering this stuff takes so much repetition. To repeat myself as I was trying to do, this would be the bass part. The bottom note would always be the bass part. Not always, but conceptually, the bass part would be this: tenor, alto, soprano, and then at any point you could count 2 down and you would see the alto part. Alto, alto, alto. Anytime there are 4 parts, and when there are 3 parts, anybody gets to double basically. So I'm gonna sing the bass part, and let's see how this goes. I'm gonna let this one run for a bit, especially so Chris gets some time to open up on his to go for this. But I want to set it up so that it stays in one screen. Okay, here we go. So this is the stacking inversions of the 7. I'll sing the bass part, and then I'll probably go and move a little bit and loosen up my body. Here we go. 7, 6, 7, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll do the scale. 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I lost my electric piano for some reason. Okay, and you'll probably notice, as someone pointed out, that these chords get quite complex. I mean, it's it's like jazz. The difference is these are actually consonances. These are complex consonances, as opposed to in jazz they are really definitively dissonant, and kind of that's how I would think of jazz, is the exploration of how dissonant can you get and still have it be tolerable to my listeners and the average or even the most avant-garde ears. And I love jazz. I studied jazz for many years and still enjoy it very much. Still play it. But what if we did those same chords that were consonant? What if instead of all those major sevenths and all those tritones, we put in pure 11s? What if we did Misty, and instead of that opening major 7 chord, we put a pure 7 chord there that's perfectly consonant and has the same idea? And what I started to realize as I went through music in school is that there are people doing this. My jazz choir teacher at Central Washington University. She really introduced me to this. She's like, it's not the same note. When the B, when you sing it in a C major 7 chord, is not the same note as you sing in a B7 chord as the root. It's not. And she was so fundamentally sure about that, and I couldn't really grasp that. I mean, I understood the concepts, and I was already wrestling with these concepts, but I didn't get that there was a pure 7 right next to that, and that if you got the singers away from the piano and put the piano in a different octave than they were, and put the guitar player in a different octave than they were, that they would naturally purify that sound. And singers will do this. Orchestra players, strings players will do this. The piano can't do this, but people, our ears will naturally purify these intervals. So what about that? What about when this project comes to a close, and wouldn't that be fun to do the entire real book, but we do it all with the same chords, with just the nearest neighbor just intonation chords? Wouldn't that be fun? And then we could, then we got to design the instruments to be able to solo over that. God, gonna get pretty crazy at that point. But for the purposes of this project, I intentionally put a limit on the scope of this project to make it possible to really engage with this material, and I want that to be very clear. So that is pretty chunky, and that's all not as chunky as we will get as far as the denseness of the harmonies. The most recent published, when I say published, it means I shared it with people. I didn't actually put it on YouTube or anything like that, or Spotify. The right ear has what I'm calling polyharmonic rhythmic, which will be one of the movements of the 7, where we're going to put all the polyharmony and the polyrhythmic elements. So while we're doing this 7, we will have another set singing the scale in 5/4 with the 5th mode, and we'll have the 8th mode going in 8th, and the 6th mode going in 6th, and the 7th mode going in 7, all at the same time. And the one recording that I put out of the 7 with that kind of the idea like a sweat lodge drum in the background, and this what sounds kind of almost atonal in your right ear, that's what that is. That's what's called polyharmonic rhythmic, and it's got all of the modes that we are engaging with, singing both the mode and the meter in them, and so it gives you all these very interesting harmonies, and arguably every combination of harmonies eventually gets represented, and that will be one of the parts of the 7th movement. And that's what you see down here. When I have these on every one of these screens, it's because that's what this part will be doing. One voice will be singing that scale up and down, while another one does it in 5, another does the 6th, and another does the 8th. Okay, so that leads us to 7 meandering. We are about at our time limit. I will open the floor in a second here. I apologize for not managing time ideally. I do want to get to the 7 meandering, and I want to ideally close back at the 8. But let's do. Let's do it this way. Sweetie, do you have anything? I don't know if we're going to get into composition. Do you have anything you want to add to this while I'm so that I'm not just me talking the whole time? Or Chris, I know, I know not a lot of people couldn't make it tonight, and will be watching in the future. But I just want to, I don't want. I'm obliged to dominate the floor. Please speak up if you have stuff to add. I know I said we were going to get into compositional stuff. I guess we just did all groundwork tonight. You jamming? I wish I could hear what you're playing over there, Chris. I do appreciate that you're over there jamming. I can't hear you if you're talking.
I'm trying.
Yeah. You're trying. You're one of these people who says trying when they're shredding. Okay. Is there any chance that we're in sync? We're not. There's no way I can. We can't do that yet. It's time to move back to Jamula so that we can actually just jam in this scenario. Um, I think it's time to make that switch. Did you have? Has anything come up for you, Chris? Do you want to add anything? I just want to make sure that I take at least some time with an open floor.
Hold on one sec. Let me put the headphones in because I'm kind of on a delay. No, I think it was a great, it was a good overview of everything. And th- for me, the kind of the challenger, what's what's interesting is if I try to think of those, if I try to think of the intervals in terms of what a scale normally would be, like the 7, 8, 9, the seventh mode, 7 through 14 harmonics. Like 8/7, having the 7 as the fundamental, and then 8/7, 9/7, 10/7. Those aren't really um, pitches that I would normally think of, but when I think of them and memorizing them from the eight, I could hold those, especially since we've been working on the eight so much.
Right.
I can hold those intervals somewhat, you know, and hit them. But if I try to think of them back to having the 7 as the root, it
Yeah.
kind of becomes a challenge. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean,
So
and
that's very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
And that's part of, I think, the challenge or whatever is
yeah.
like being able to then, you know, do them together. Like get to the point
That's
where
right.
I could sing the 7 or the 8 over the 7 and think of the 8 as the quote unquote second scale degree of the 7 and not the one of the 7
Hmm.
being the 7, right, of the 8 or whatever, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. It's a bit of a brain
So
fuck.
that's pretty interesting. Um,
Yeah, and
and then
that's
when you think of that, it's like, because I remember I'd been playing this stuff for years, and when someone was like, what do you think of the 7/5 interval? And I'm like, well, I don't really play that very often. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. When I'm playing that, you know, just a pure seventh chord with a pure seventh with the fifth in it, I'm always playing that, the major third, the fifth harmonic. And so then when I kind of isolate them, you kind of they have a different quality to them when they're isolated as opposed to
right.
when they're part of that 1, 3, 5, 7 as opposed to 5, 7, or you know what I mean, or
Well,
7
yeah.
having that 7 as the root and that 5 as the
I mean, this is a very largely why I presented it in exactly the way I did. The idea was to get a bunch of muscle memory in this eighth mode before we started going into odd meters and I'll say it again, non-intuitive stuff. And so I appreciate you speaking to that because that's what this is, and it is challenging. But we just got to be where we're at with it. And that one is, again, that's what we just did was the most kind of challenging that way. Right now we'll close up with the meandering, which is just the first two intentional chords, and it's much more. It kind of takes the edge off of that non-intuitives. I just use it as a way as a permission slip to be a little bit more free and a little bit less brainy about it. Because it's sevens are so much more difficult than the other numbers for our brains, just because it's the first prime number that we're not good at. We've got 5 fingers, so the 5 number, everything below 5 is pretty doable for us, but once you get past that, it's a whole different story just in all of our operations. So I like the idea of the 7 being a place where we can really also take the lid off the box. Anyway, I don't want to go too far into the timing, but if you have more to add, please do it. I think I did cut you off there, so please finish what you were saying.
no, that was fine.
Yeah, okay. Let's do this 7 meandering, and then we should close up. I'm trying to keep everything down to an hour and a half. I'm just gonna jam on this for a minute, and yeah, and what I would be doing here is I'd be just asking you to turn your stuff on so we can hear you jamming over this, Chris. But I know that the latency will make that sound like terrible to the external listener. We'll get to that when once we have our our low latency system set up. We'll get to the point where we can have a little more fun that way. I'm really looking forward to that, especially now that we have a bunch of instruments in the works here. We haven't even talked about instruments. I'm about to bring an upright piano in here to retune it to this scale, and I'm so excited about that and having fretlets for the guitar and stuff. Okay, let's finish up with the 7 meandering. Thank you for being here. This is Into Just Nation 201, I think we'll call this. I do appreciate even, the attention matters so much, and it's really fun to do this stuff with people at long last. Chris, you especially, and you, sweetie, especially, for being on this ride. Here we go. 7 meandering. Enjoy yourselves. Improvise. See what brings and what melodies come. so let's close it there. That one is not. I have not shared that with anybody yet. So I will do that. I will set that up with a little bit more juice to it and put that where people can get it. Again, this is Into Just Nation 201 presenting the harmonic series. In this case, modes 8, 5, 6, and 7 in order. In the comments, there will be a link to my bit.ly with links to this video. There's the 101, the 103, the 102, and all that is in there, as well as a link to a documents folder that contains all of the all the individual exercises as logically as I can set them out will also be contained within that, so that people can look at them. And again, I just want to be clear that the idea here is a collaborative effort. So I want people to bring things to the table, and like my lady Shannon is helping me choose prettier sounding instruments for this, and I want to replace all these robot instruments with people. And obviously, we're going to have plenty of room for taking solos for people like Chris and others, and I want people's voices to replace all these electric piano parts. And eventually we do this in this kind of grand dance environment where we have a full drum choir, where there's many people playing hand drums, there's a DJ, and there's people singing these harmonies, and people taking solos and singing melodies that all of us have come up with, and all that sort of stuff, creating the ideal container. Okay, so thanks for being here. This is Into Just Nation 201. A working title of our ensemble is the PiEnsemble, PiEnsemble. And I hope you are all well. Remember to breathe, be in your bodies, and end things with gratitude. Thank you for being here.